gentlemen, your host for tonight's show.
Here, I'll break it over your. I'll break it over your head.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're a real crumb bum.
See, these guys are all the same.
All right, I'm gonna all questions will be answered. I promise you. You're gonna figure this all out.
All right. Well, actually, we can just go right from there.
Right on.
We are rocking and rolling on Comics2Comics, a little segment on the Crumb Show.
Yeah.
Called Comics2Comics here, and he almost introduced himself from Soul Joel's.
Yes, sir.
Tuned Up Brewery.
Yeah.
The Digging in the Dome podcast.
Damn right.
Ballz.
That's me.
Chris Morano.
That's me. Also.
And he's going to explain.
Yeah. Why Ballz? I mean, it is a. It's funny too because like early on when I was doing, comedy, like the first couple of times I felt compelled to explain Ballz. So my name is Christopher, right? So not Crystal Ball, right? Now on Facebook it says Crystal Ball, and it spells my last name all funky and weird, Meauxrano, which is not the spelling of my last name. The reason I did that was because I didn't the early part of doing comedy and even the podcast to that degree, I wanted a separation of church and state, right? So I had me as the performer, me, and me as the, corporate automaton asshole. So that's what I mean. That's kind of what led. So, but that's not even the fictitious name isn't even how I got to Ballz. Ballz was just something my wife has been calling me since I've been married almost 19 years and a week ago.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. So, haven't had sex in 15, something like that. But we've been together for 24. And she always called me Cristobal. And then she would because she's a goofball, she's a goof too. And then it just shortened to Ballz. And then every time she introduced me to people, Ballz, that's me. So like it kind of stuck. And then when I started doing comedy, I was like, similarly with the Cristobal on Facebook, I'm like, I need a separation of church and state. Just because, again, you don't know how people are going to react. I'm not sure if you feel that way. Right. How people are going to react to you being a comic. So I had to kind of ease my way into it, I guess you could say,
Right, yeah. I dig it. Plus you have an alias, Ballz.
Yeah, Ballz. Yeah. Someone asked me, so now I actually have a hosting on a Saturday. It's like my first paid gig as a comic, which is awesome.
Right, nice, man. Where's that at?
Tuned Up Brewery on the 28th of October. Come on out if you can. It'll be great. I'm sure that the people will be, it's like right around Halloween, so people will probably be dressed all fucked up. Not just because they live in Spring City, because there are some characters out there. Yeah. But they were like, well, what do we put on the poster? Like, because they're going to put my picture on there. And I was like, should we write Ballz? I'm like, yeah, I guess, but like, I also want my name. Now I want my name out there. So it's like Chris, right. And then in quote Ballz, like I'm a mafia fucking stooge,
right.
Morano. So I got it in the middle. Chris Ballz Morano, which is great.
Well, right. Yeah, well, like that guy Trebor, remember him? He used to come by. Like he thought it was outrageous that I went up as myself.
As your name?
I didn't have like some kind of, because his name is not Trebor.
No?
No.
Well, Trebor sounds like that's an interesting name. Where did he come up with his name? That's a better question.
His name backwards. I won't put
Robert.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Trebor. At least he kept it simple.
So, but he thought it was outrageous that I didn't change my name, and like he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I don't care.
But the way you spell your name, when I seen on Instagram, I seen it spelled with the EAUX on the end. I was like, oh, there's a classy, like a French dude or something. I thought he was
right.
An Italian guy.
So I had this whole backstory in my head of, it's Cristobal. He must be from like an immigrant family. They named Cristobal.
Hey. Yeah. Well, hey, look.
Didn't eat your gravy.
Well, listen, number one, I will always eat the gravy. Number two, I think we are all from technically immigrant families, unless.
But I mean, like, now.
Yeah. Like literally just got here from Spain, and I'm working through trying to get my citizenship now. Nothing like that.
Like your dad wears sandals and socks.
No, my dad wears a white T-shirt and boxers.
Nice.
That is my dad's fucking uniform, and it doesn't matter who's coming over. He's gotten to the age where it doesn't matter. Like like a fucking dignitary from another country be walking, and he'll be on his chair with his sack hanging out the side.
Yeah,
that's my dad.
My kids are all older now, like, and they have girlfriends sleeping over and
sure, in
and out, and their friends there and shit. And I got to take a shower. It's summertime.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget to grab, my. I don't know. I'm still allowed to call them wife beaters.
I guess. What else do you call them? Tank tops?
Yeah, right. I grab my tank.
Yeah.
But I got to walk through the house sometimes with no shirt off. For summertime, I just don't want to wear a fucking shirt.
It's too hot.
Yeah, I'm 50 years old. I got a dad bod.
Whatever.
Ain't nothing sexy about it. But then I think, like, these strangers are going to see me essentially half naked, but
it's my house.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah. If you want to come, listen, it's your house, your rules, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to walk around as I would like to walk around and be comfortable in my house, then you're not stopping me.
I'm going to be shirtless, and I'm going to yell. Hopefully I don't do them at the same time, because that's kind of ridiculous. Then my titties are jiggling, trying to be scared.
Oh yeah. You can't be ominous when your tits are bouncing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You get fixated on your tits. Don't even hear what you have to say.
Yeah, exactly.
My eyes are up here, buddy.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm being hypnotized by your bouncing tits.
All right, but back to the journey. So
okay, right.
You have a show at Tuned Up Brewery coming up
on the 28th.
End of the month, the
yes.
28th. Go check that out.
Thank you.
But where'd you do your first open mic at?
At Soul Joel's, actually.
Oh, no shit.
Yep, that was my first one. And like most, I went up and ate shit. Got my feet tangled in the cord, which is like ridiculous because it's not like the first time I've ever been on stage. I've been a musician my entire life. Before I was a podcaster, I was a musician. Before I was a comedian, I was a podcaster. So it's not like I'm not comfortable in those situations. But I got on stage, and it's just the thing that's really different about being in a band versus being like a comedian is it's just you.
Yeah.
It's just you. Mm-hmm. So like, bands, you have like people around you. It's not just you, unless you're doing an acoustic gig or something.
Right.
And even then, it doesn't feel the same because you're playing songs, and it's just like kind of rote memory thing. Whereas, as you know, like when you're doing comedy, it's very much you're prepared material, but also in the moment, you have to be able to think on your feet. It's one of the things that I really like about it too. But
what did you play musically?
Well, I mean, in the band that I was in, like the longest, I've been in many bands, but mostly guitar, like rhythm, guitar, vocals, that kind of thing. But I mean, I play other instruments. I play piano a little bit. I play harmonica, play the drums.
Well, thanks for not being a guitar comedy.
Oh, we have had guitar comics come to Soul Joel's. I've seen them. Yeah. And they're, it's just a thing, like it's people have their gimmick. Like that guy, there's the dude in Soul Joel's that is the wandering around the table in Gatsby's comic that's got the cartoon sounds. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you come on. You have not been in Gatsby's pub where the dude he's got like a name tag on that's like says like yo-yo or some shit, and he just like walks around and you hear
magic guy.
Is he a magic
magician?
He's a magician.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's an up close magician.
Yeah,
he's an up close magician.
He got the car with the big, like a big
rocket on the top.
A big rocket.
He's got a rocket on the top of his car.
It's like purple. It's a
station
purple
wagon.
Old school station. Because I had a conversation with him the other day. I'm like, where did you find this station wagon? Like, you don't see those on the road. He's like, it took him like a long time to find it, and he built this rocket on top, and it's like purple. It's like crazy.
It's pretty cool.
But anyway, he's cool. Yeah, I talked to him for a little bit.
Yeah, no, like I thought that he was going around doing. But then he's got like sound effects too.
Probably, yeah. That makes sense.
Like auga, a doogly, 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 doogly. It sounds like a fucking.
I guess he's a funny comedian or funny magician.
Yeah. Well, you're saying you're blending two worlds: guitar comedy and now magic comedy.
Yeah.
But comedic magicians were a thing for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like what was it, dude? Amazing Randy was a comedian.
Okay.
And a magician.
And David Copperfield made them all sexy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think what do you call it? Johnny Carson, wasn't he a magician or something?
Well,
I don't know.
Carmack did the thing with the envelopes, but I don't know if that was. He wasn't like David Blaine, where he's like sitting in a glass box, like
holding his breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize your first open mic was at Soul Joel's. Were any of us the host? Who was the host that night? Let me think. It might have been you. Actually, I think it was you. Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you guys have like an awesome rotation. right? It's you, it's Dylan, Jesse, and Jeremy.
Yeah.
So you weren't there with Kat, the guitar lady? She used to come and play like acoustic songs.
No.
On guitar. She wanted to be a true open mic. We were in Gatsby's at the time. Well, mixed it back and forth.
Back and forth between two?
But yeah, she came and we couldn't get like, it wasn't a true open mic. She could never get anybody to come up. So
there was no music.
So she decided she had other stuff going on. So that's why we're hosting now.
Okay.
She was like, I don't want to do it anymore. Probably tired of.
She's back though, Kat. She's up there in Gatsby's playing. She's great.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
great.
yeah?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
great.
But
She's from Skip Back. She's a
But it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny guitar. She would get up and like actually legitimately play like songs, and she's good.
No shit.
yeah, she's real good.
Wow. Yeah, no, look, there what was it? Were you guys there a couple weeks ago when the kid came up, was in the crowd? No one was like saying there's a kid in the crowd, and I was like, I don't know why no one's talking. It's the first thing I said when I got on stage. I'm like, I don't know why no one's talking about the fact that there is a child. I'm like, sir, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And he was there to play. He said, I play guitar. I'm going to play here. And so he went up and did. And he was.
I missed that. I
Yeah.
guess maybe that was the week we didn't go.
Yeah, it may have been. I remember somebody saying something about a kid being there, but I wasn't hosting, so I was probably in and out.
They bring people bring babies in there. I'm like,
Oh, that's hilarious.
yeah, it's
Hey, I think I told you, but shout out Walker Britt.
yeah. Walker, sorry, he's great.
Man, somebody brought an actual in the stroller baby
Yeah.
up to Soul Joel's, and they come in and they're watching, and they watched for a few comedians, and then they left, and Walker Britt went up and he said, "Man, somebody brought a baby in here tonight." He was like, "That kid's first words are going to be, man, dating is hard."
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah.
'Cause that's a common thing with open micers. Dating is hard. Dating
That's
is
very
hard.
funny.
Man, I lost it, and it was one of them jokes that was in my head all week. What?
I say that all the time. Dating's hard.
Yeah, open
Yeah.
micers is a common thing with,
Yeah.
open micers.
I think it's hard to like. It's the interesting thing about comedy is because somebody asked me. So I was wearing a Soul Joel shirt, and I was going to see my daughter get her homecoming pictures. So it was like at one of the kids that they were going as a group, right? They were all at that kid's parents' house. So we're in there, right? And some dude whose name I don't remember, like pointed at the shirt and said, "Hey, what do you do there? Like, what do you do there?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a comic." And then it was just like, I shouldn't have said that, because then it was just like every question and then I got like a group of people that were just asking, so what about this and what about that? And they were, they asked, one guy asked a very interesting question. I didn't know how to answer it. I don't know if you guys would be able to answer this one. They're like, well, who do you think that you sound like? I'm like, I hope that I don't sound like anybody but me.
Right.
But I think that naturally you're going to have like the same kind of rhythm of, or maybe some things that you picked up from other comedy or, comedians that you've watched over time, right?
Yeah. I heard Segura actually
Mm-hmm.
say he watched stuff that when he first started his first couple of years. And
Yeah.
He said he was basically doing a Chris Rock impression,
No kidding.
like pacing back and forth on the stage, doing a lot of the hand stuff and
Mm-hmm.
turning to the head stuff. And it's all just subconscious.
Yeah, you don't even know you're doing it.
Yeah.
But if someone asked you that question, would you be able to answer it?
No.
I thought it was so hard. And they looked at me like, why can't you answer this question? Like if someone said, hey, who are your guitar influences? I could tell you. Like I've got I can rattle 5 off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carlos Santana and TJ Mahoney. And, I could say the people that actually, Jimi Hendrix. These are people that like I listen to all the time. Like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to be like
Same with
that.
me, when I play, Tony Iommi.
Yeah, there you go.
And Jerry Cantrell, stuff like that. Like that's my influence. Like I could instantly tell you that. I could tell you influences of comedy, but like not anybody like I think I particularly emulate.
Right. Well, it's almost. Don't you feel like it's almost too a little? And I don't think this was the intention, because I think that the way that they look at it is more like a musician. But it felt kind of insulting. It's like, well, I'm not trying to be anybody but me. I'm writing my own stuff, and I don't think that I'm not like sitting there like pawing through Dave Attell stuff and saying, "Ooh, let me see if I can play off that." I know some comedians don't even listen to other comedians because they're afraid that they're going to actually end up sounding like them.
Pick up their cadence or
exactly
whatever, their joke style or whatever. Yeah, it's your brain is your brain.
Yeah, and my brand is apparently Ballz. That's where I started.
Yeah.
Ballz.
Yeah. That's cool. You started up there open mic.
Yeah.
Like how long ago was that now?
I started in February.
February, really? That's
Yep.
cool. And so February to 8 months.
Yeah.
And you got a real hosting gig.
Yeah,
man.
I actually.
That's awesome.
So I've hosted Tuned Up 4 times, 5 times, something like that. So they like, I think hosting for me is like, and you guys probably feel the same way. It feels very natural. Like I like being able to do the interstitial stuff with the comedians. I think I'm good at thinking on my feet and just like being able to come off the top of the dome with something hopefully funny.
Right.
So yeah, no, I got, and again, someone was asking me, another comedian was like, well, how did you get that? I'm like, I asked. Like, and I think that's the one thing that, you know, if you take away anything, it's that you have to hustle in this game, and you can't just expect people just to see you and be like, oh my God, that guy's talented. Let me, you know, give them the opportunity.
Right, yeah.
You have to actually create the opportunity.
Yeah,
we had a different mentality. I did anyway. We like more of an old school, like, you know, we were like, we were waiting to be asked.
Right.
Like, it was weird for us to like only do it for so long and say, hey, can we get on? But that's apparently the way to do it. You can't, nobody's going to come and say, hey, we want you to do this, because like there was a bunch of, you know, 7 for 7.
Yeah, well, I have this thing, and we're all at the same,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, for sure.
thing there. Everybody wants a show. We didn't start this to grind
Right.
for nothing.
Right.
Everybody wants. You know what I
Right.
mean? Everybody wants a show. Everybody wants a headline and all that shit, right?
Of course.
So in my mind, you have to step back and kind of be realistic about it. Like,
Yeah.
your want is always going to be more than your level, and your, like, I don't want to say deserve type shit, whatever. But like, yeah, we've been doing open mics for give or take a year.
Right.
Yeah, we all want to be headliners. We all want to be,
Right.
you know, respected comics and shit, and we all want shows. But are we ready to Are you ready to headline, Chris? No. You know, Ballz.
No, definitely not.
No,
Like you
we
have
are
material.
nowhere near that.
I think that's the thing too. Like you guys will appreciate this. So when I first started doing it, like this is like a month in, somebody that I knew from an old job contacted me on Facebook, and they were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool that you're doing stand up." And they said, you know, I'd love to try to do it too. And he said, you know, I always feel like I got a good 45 minutes in my head. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. I'm like, you have maybe 45 seconds in your head that might pass, like, but you have to work at it. And I think that's the other thing too, is like, just like anything else, you know, you're like, you can't get too ahead of your skis, right? You can't say, oh my God, yeah, I'm killing it. I don't think I'm killing it. What I think I'm doing is trying to get to, and I think that you're absolutely right, that you've got like, this is where I want to get, and this is where I'm at. And that's healthy. Like, there should be a gap between where you are and where you want to get always, and that should always continue to move up and up.
Yeah.
It's like, there's not going to, you know, what's the pinnacle? I'm going to do stadiums.
Right.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen, but that's okay. I don't think in that manner. Like, but I do think that like it does take not just time and effort, but you have to be willing to like put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Hell, I mean, we would never have gotten, as in a band, we got signed to an indie label. Like, it didn't work out because bands always fall apart when money's involved, and that's what happened. But it was all because we had hustle, right? We were an original band, like and being an original band and making money and being able to get the attention of people, people, getting an entertainment lawyer to have an interest in you, that's a hard thing to do. And it doesn't happen because you're not putting yourself out there, like putting press kits out there, going to these weird like warehouse A&R rep sponsored things where like literally it was like a line of bands going one after the other in front of these record people just to get a shot, you know, like handing out all your press kits and stuff like that. It's a lot of work. And comedy I think is kind of the same thing. You'll get people that you're like, wow, I really like to work with that guy, or give them the opportunity. But at the same time, you got to make your own opportunities.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Make your own opportunities when you feel like, yeah, I do have a good 10 minutes. You
right.
know what
I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a good 8 minutes.
But I have like a good 10 minutes of, but I 100% realize my material is not for the masses.
Right. Yeah.
It's not for the masses.
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Right.
I have
Not for
I do have a good 5 minutes of like
Just clean stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but I never do.
Right.
Because my other stuff is just so much funner to do.
Well, it's also your voice, right? Like, you don't want to speak out. Like, it's almost like, was it Jay Yoder said something once. He was like, yeah, there was a joke that I told once, because I asked him, I actually interviewed him. I said, like anytime you've gone up and just, you know, something just really, really didn't work, because I think that's also a very important learning moment for you. I'll tell you one that I just happened to be recently in a second, but he said that he went up and he told like kind of more of a dirty joke, because, you know, Jay, he's not like, he'll have allusion to, but he will not go right for the cunt, you know, like he's not going to, you know, he's not going to do that. So, so like he told the joke and then someone came and said, hey, that's not you, man. Like, don't do that. Right. And he was like, you know what? He's right. Like, it felt maybe awkward coming out of him. He thought that he wanted to do something a little bit edgier and it just didn't exactly fit his mold.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he's doing a whole clean show.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it too, but I never got around to it.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because it's on Sundays and it's the fall, and that means football's on. So it's a very, very, I mean, like, look, I'm dedicated to comedy, but I have my limits, guys.
Right. But I'm interested to hear. But Jay Burrell's doing it. And Karen.
Jay Burrell.
Jay's doing it.
Jay Burrell. Karen.
A couple other people.
Raph
did it. And Scott.
And Dana too, right? I think Dana was on that show too.
I don't know, but that dude Scott, the bald head guy with the beard, I think his name's Scott.
Yeah, he was talking about the other night. He's like, I'm doing a clean
Brad?
show.
Brad. It was Brad. Yes, Brad Davis.
Yeah. Shout out to that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, hard to do.
Do that.
But,
yeah.
You know,
Raph is one of my favorites.
And
Raph?
Raph.
Yeah, he's very funny.
Raph's really good.
Very, very funny.
But like not, you know, shout out to all the guys we know that we just mentioned. But when you watch those clean comics like a Brian Regan or a Jim Gaffigan or something, and being a comic and you hear their jokes and the end of their bit, and you're like, God damn. All clean, hilarious.
Yep, so skillful.
Yeah, like it really is.
So you know what's funny? Like, so I went up to the stand. This is like well before I was doing comedy. I just went up to go watch comedians, and I think it was the night. It was Dan Soder was performing. He's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
one of my favorites. And he gets off the stage, and then like in this like these New York comedy clubs, like people will just like really crazy comedians will just pop in, and Jim Gaffigan popped in, and he did a not clean set, and I was like. What? Right. And it was still hilarious because Jim Gaffigan's hilarious, but it was like, wow. So again, that versatility to be able to kind of move back and forth between that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I've been trying to do that too. Like,
I got some clean. I've been working on like my whole thing where like I don't do steal people's things, and then I do and I don't do this, and I don't do that, and then I just do the joke, but none of them are dirty.
Yeah, no, I think I did. I feel like you just did this recently. I saw you do that one. And it was funny. Because you were actually the premise is great because it's like I don't steal people's stuff, and then you just start doing everybody else's stuff.
It's like
it's great.
Well, I have to come up. You have to be ready for clean or whatever. Well, I think we're gonna work on a dirty show. Like there's a show in the works.
There's talks. Nothing.
Talks?
There's talks.
Talks of a show?
It's okay to talk about it, though, because, you know, get a little excitement going for that. We don't know when, but there's talks of, like, a straight-up dirty show. Which is
Potentially. We'll see.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough to do. So back to me bombing. So this is so fucking... and it was like... And I'd been going on, like, a run of getting at least something, you know, like when I was doing it. This was just a complete... right? Like where you have to laugh about it after you get on stage. I mean, we've all had I mean, no one is immune to bombing, but so there's and I can't remember his name. I feel bad for it, but there was a blind comic that was doing a set at the open mic. And he was very funny. And actually I've met him before at Tuned Up. We were on the same show. Like me at the open mic, he on the actual show because he's actually super talented. And he was talking about how parking meters have Braille on it, and he doesn't really understand why, because blind people can't drive, right? Makes sense. So again, you know, when you're at those shows, I'm sure you guys do it too. Someone says something or someone does something, and then you have to immediately you're going to now interject something into what you had already planned. So I decided this would be a good time to make fun of the blind. Yeah. So basically what I said, I was like, hey, whatever his name was, just said that he didn't understand why Braille was on a parking meter. I said, I know why. You can't fucking drive. At least you can pay.
There you go.
That's pretty funny, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you who didn't think it was funny. The audience. They hated that shit. And then I followed it up with another, I tried to I said, well, maybe if that one bombed, I'll do another one. And see if I can recover. It didn't work. Right. And then I just like I sweated my way through silence and like I was like, oh fuck. But it does happen to you,
I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
He had to have thought it was good.
No, by the way, when I got off and I talked to him, I'm like, because I didn't want him to feel like a way about something. And I had met him before. It's not like I didn't know him. And I was like, and he said, those were funny jokes. I don't know why they didn't laugh. I'm like, I thought so too. But, you got to know your crowd, right? You get in there and they start. There was weird energy in that room anyway. Like that, there was a table full of douchebags in the front. You could tell they were douchebags. And Karen was hosting and she didn't like him either. Like, it was just like a thing. Like, sometimes you just get into those rooms where you're like,
Right.
Yeah,
the crowd it's part of the program. Like,
yeah.
Well, we haven't. Besides like 2016, I did an open mic 2 times, and then I never did it again until like I started Soul Jewels.
Right.
So I've only done Soul Jewels.
Okay.
So I don't know what it's like otherwise because it's always like the same crowd. It's kind of like
it's our built-in crowd
now.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't even worry about it. We do have to start like maybe branching out.
Well,
I don't know. I'm so comfortable there. It's like my spot.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like Soul Jewels sets a very high bar in terms of like the room quality, like everything, right? It's just like incredible. And when I like, and I've noticed this, like, so I've gone to other places and they're just smaller or worse. That's the best way to put it.
Right.
But they're also like they've got their own charms and they've got again their own crowd. And I like the idea of that diversity, being able to do things like one that was really different for me, Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so I got to do that one, do their new comics night, and it was different. Like the comedians were different, like way, way different. Like not. And I talked to Raph about it later, and he's like, yeah, that room is definitely weird. It's not bad. It's actually really, really cool and very like iconic comics have performed there. But there's a lot of like the comedians were doing a lot of street jokes, like
really?
A lot of street jokes.
Really?
Yeah, I was as surprised as you. Like it was such a departure from what I'm used to at Soul Jewels or Tuned Up. Like it was just way different.
Right. Yeah, I never heard.
Because it was almost like going back in time. I was like, this seems very old school. And Raph had said like, yeah, it's what makes the room different, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult if you're not necessarily used to either that crowd or that style of comedy.
Because that's basically like not stealing, but kind of like unoriginal, right? If you're just doing street jokes, like that's crazy.
You could argue that, and that's what we were talking about is that like you're basically taking either the entire premise and the structure of a joke and retelling it, which is like comic cover band, which is weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not writing your own stuff. It's okay, like as you said, like hey, I'm not somebody who steals stuff and then actually do it because that's part of the bit. It's another thing to say I'm going to tell a joke and then people either like what's the one that there's a couple that like you just know like when you hear them like you're like because people go back to that well for that and there could be multiple comics that are doing something or an iteration of it.
Right.
And to a degree if you're taking it's a take on a concept, I get it, but if it's the actual joke verbatim,
right,
that's stealing.
Yeah, you're stealing from the streets.
I do that when I'm hosting because I can because like I've done it a couple times with my Elton John thing.
Yeah.
The guy was talking about Elton John the whole time. And I was like, Elton John, great on the piano, sucks on the organ. That's the classic. I had to get it in. Or this one guy came in with the wheelchair. Remember him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that dude. Yeah.
And I pulled him, and I was hosting, and I said, he was talking some weird shit. So I said, what's the hardest part about eating a vegetable? The wheelchair. And he thought it was funny. So that's when it's okay, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
To say street jokes, but if you're doing your 5-minute,
it's your set.
No,
well, that's what was weird to me, and it was like it was when the first comedian went up and did that. I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. When the next 2 or 3 did it, I was like, this is kind of the thing here, like where you're doing street jokes. I'm like, well, I don't have any street jokes. I just have mine, and I did okay. Like it was fine. Like I'd go back and do it again. It's a
was it an open mic or a
No, you have to like actually sign up for it. It's like you have to email the the person that owns it or books it,
Right.
and then ask them like,
How
I'd
many
like
minutes? 5?
It's 5. Yeah.
Well, that's what a lot of the open mics I think in Philly are like.
Yeah. You like
you have to
Punchline. I think you have
Get
to
on a
one.
list and
And that one, like, I actually tried to get on that one. It's very, very difficult.
So how would like our comedy go over there?
There, I mean, people still. I mean, our comedy is some in the same kind of Venn diagram in that circle. So, like, I think that it would be fine. Like, I think that people went up and did there. While there was a inordinate amount of people that went up and did street jokes, there was also a pretty large contingent of people that went up and just did material.
right. Okay.
And like, because it felt like everybody leading up to me was the street jokes, and then I went, and then after that, there was like more people that were more material based, and less, telling,
Right.
why did the chicken cross the fucking road? Like,
Yeah. Bombing, man. Bombing is crazy. The first few times I did the mics, any mics, I wouldn't consider them bombs because just starting out, the first couple of jokes I wrote,
yeah.
I got a couple of laughs.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't crickets.
right.
So, fast forward, however many weeks. And I had a bit that I was working on, so it was pretty memorized in my head.
Yep.
So it was not going over well. It was like later, the crowd had dwindled.
Right.
It was, I think basically only comics left in the room,
Yeah.
which is never a good judge. Just comics in the room. But as I'm doing it, it was like I was just giving an angry speech.
I'm spitting my manifesto out here.
It was crickets the whole time, but I knew the bit in my head pretty good. So I was like, well, you're up here, so
Do it.
you got to go through this 5. But I'm thinking in my head the whole time, like, oh my God, this is great. I'm looking around, but I'm talking the whole time.
Right.
But I have the inner monologue, and I'm like, that lady's looking at her phone. Jeremy's not even looking over here. I was like, Jesus
you're like,
Christ,
oh, no.
where's Chris at? Chris ain't even in the
Smoke
back.
out.
Yeah, like Chris ain't even in the back.
Yeah, like we at one time though, we only had 4 or 5 people show up
Yeah.
total.
Yeah. Sure.
Like it was like before you, like I said, when Kat was there, like that was one time was Trebor, me, you, and Jeremy.
Yeah,
And
that was
it.
yeah. It was like the middle of a
We
rainstorm.
did it anyway.
Yeah.
Wintertime
We went up and did
rainstorm.
our stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get that. I just hosted one that it was like a handful of people. It was pretty dead. But it was also the first game of the wild card for the Phillies or something like that, or second.
Yeah,
one.
that's
No,
yeah.
So it's like if I'm competing with the Phillies, I'm going to lose. I want to be watching it. I don't even want to be hosting right now, but
Yeah.
doing it because you got to.
But yeah, it's tough sometimes.
Well, I think something that you said really is something that I believe, which is you have to go and to do those open mics and be in front of 75% of a room of comics because they are by far the most judgmental and the
Yeah.
hardest to get to laugh.
Yeah.
If you can win them over, it steals you. It does it like it builds stronger Teflon on the or Teflon's not probably the thing I want to. No, Kevlar. That's the one.
Kevlar.
Yeah. You're getting that, and if you can't make it, and you've seen that, I'm sure too. There will be comedians that early on when I was starting to do it, they showed up like every week, and now they're just gone.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, and I like got their phone numbers. I was texting them like, "Why aren't you doing it anymore?" I'm just curious, like, what happened? And they tell you, I'm busy and blah blah blah. But I think it's partly because they went up and they got road tested, and the road won.
Yeah.
And that can happen if you're not comfortable like sitting in somewhat silence or all silence. Then
Or you're just some people just are terrible.
yeah, some people are bad.
I hate to be bad mouth comics. It's not a
Yes.
good thing.
Yeah, but the hard part is just getting on stage.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. So
Yeah.
even if you're terrible and you just grind at it and you at least have somewhat of a funny,
Yeah, you'll get something.
you'll get something. You just keep going, man.
Yeah.
You of all people should understand that. Just keep going, buddy. Something good will happen.
I'm not saying I'm the best comic or even in the top, but I know that I'm better than some people. That don't show up anymore. They just stop coming.
A lot
Right.
of people do.
I think it's tough
that?
too. Like I think I was talking to my daughter about this because she's hosting a talent show thing at school.
Sweet.
Yeah, so yeah, she's following in Dad's footsteps, getting on
Yeah.
stage.
Did you write some material for her?
Not yet. No, she hasn't asked me, and my rate's probably too high. She can't afford me. But she said, you know, like she's like, well, you know, I think that her co-host, she's like, we're funny together, and I'm like, that's good. I'm like, that's a start. But there's a difference of being in life funny and being on stage funny, completely different animal. So I think that a lot of times with those people, they think that I'm funny. And people laugh at me all the time, and then when they go on stage and they try to translate that, they think, but I think the mistake that they typically make is they don't really prepare.
Nah.
Right? Like before I got on stage, like even though the first time I sucked, I had things prepared. I was like, I practiced it. Like I worked on it in my house, like trying to figure out exactly how I was going to do it, you know? And again, like I said, mostly didn't work, but it didn't I didn't stop.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like you just keep on keeping on, right?
That's
and
it.
try to get better.
Well, I don't care if they don't laugh, because and I'll even say that. I'm like, I don't care if you laugh, because, you know, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, right. It's free.
And I just won't say it again. I don't care.
Right.
Or I will, and you'll just have to sit here and listen anyway, because you fucking.
Well, that's what I found out about the cool part of comedy. Like I had never thought about being a comic my whole life. I always watched comedy and all that. Never once did it cross my mind to try it. Until my son said, I'm going to sign you up for Kill Tony. They're coming to Philadelphia. This was a few years ago. He said, I'm going to buy tickets and sign your name on the list, and then you're going to, if they pick it, you do a minute of comedy.
Right.
I knew it was never going to happen because he said he was going to buy the tickets.
Right.
So we're never going to go.
Right.
But I said, if it does happen, just by any chance, I'm going to be prepared. So he had just done some goofy shit in the backyard. So I was like, I'm just going to tell that story. So I wanted to see what Kill Tony was, because I had just gotten into podcasts, listening to podcasts at the same time.
Yep.
So I said, let me check out Kill Tony. So I started watching it, started to like it. So I kind of started to figure out how to write, what it takes to write a joke. And they'll just tell you, like, oh, the setup was a little long, or this should have been the punch, you should have said this. So I kind of started thinking about it. But then once I figured out, started doing it, and I said, let me write a joke. I think I may have kind of the gist of it. And continuing to listen to podcasts with these comics.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like you figured out 3% of what it takes to write one joke.
Yeah.
Like there's such a long science to it. Like, and we talk about it, like, I think it was Bill Burr and Norman, but people think that everything I do is like off the cuff, like when I do it with my hands, when I said, Jesus Christ, or what do you think of that? Or that's all stuff I practiced 1,000 times.
Yeah.
By the time you saw it, it's perfected. That's what I figured out gets the best laughs.
Yep.
So everything's a science, and it's weird. Like you said, you can't just be the funny guy at work most of the time.
Yeah.
And just go up on
There's
stage.
some people that probably can pull it off. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen, it's not impossible.
Oh, no.
But like, I do wonder, though, unless you're only doing essentially crowd work, if it's sustainable. Because really, if you're going up there, like, and you're doing it regularly, to your point, you're not going to perfect it right away. It's going to take forever. Like, that's the biggest lesson that I learned early, is that it's like the premise or the idea might be good. The way that you are wording it, the cadence that you're saying it with, the pauses that you leave, again, what you do with your body,
Right.
all that plays into whether or not people are going to find it funny. And that those tweaks, like, so you talk about those New York and Boston comics, they're going up so many times a night. They're hitting open mics. They're going everywhere to say, give me another, let me just go do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here. It's the same thing. And then eventually they build it out until, like, you know, again, 20 minutes or 30 or an hour or something like that.
Right,
know?
yeah.
But it all is just, I had the pleasure of meeting Nikki Glazer
Oh, nice.
after
nice.
her show.
She's cool.
And she said, I was like, and this is when I had just started. I'm like, I'm just starting stand-up comedy. And she said, don't worry about being funny. Just do it a lot.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's what I always say when I'm hosting. If people bomb, I'm like, you know what, you got the balls to go up there.
Yeah.
And so just keep coming back. If that's what you got to do. You know, suck it up and just come back.
Yeah, get on stage and write jokes.
That's it.
What it comes down to.
It does. And I think that's the thing that people sometimes miss. It's just, and I think, again, that's where it comes down to that steel in you. And you're sitting in front of mostly comics. It's, you know, taking the time to figure it out. And I think it's perfect. I don't know if you guys do it, but, like, you know, I'll go up and, hey, how was that? Any feedback. You know, like I want feedback. I want people to say, yeah, I probably would have, you know, I don't necessarily need a tag or anything like that. If you want to give me one, fine. But you know, this is this was good. But you know, that's why I like some of the people that I like our community. It's one thing that I was, and I don't know why I was surprised. I'm genuinely surprised. I'm not sure about you guys. We have such a good comedy community around here. It's crazy. Like really, like how many really, I don't know if that's, maybe it's like that everywhere and I just don't know it.
No, it's not. And, you know, it's because of us and Joel.
Yeah.
Really, truthfully, like we can pat ourselves on the back for a second, us and Jeremy and Dylan and Joel.
Yes.
But when the first open mic I went to was up there and it was in Gatsby's. And the original host, walked up to him, and I said, hey, man, I have no idea what to do here. I said, I imagine I have to sign up on a list, but other than that, I don't know anything.
Right.
I said, I think you get 5 minutes. He said, yes, you get 5 minutes. He said, but don't worry about it. We're very supportive open mic here. He was like, so anything you need, you let me know, and we'll help you out. And I asked him a few questions. He was very helpful, very helpful. So then when Joe asked if we wanted to host, I just kept that mantra, like, you got to be a supportive open mic community. Everybody's nervous. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Yep.
Everybody wants to do good.
Right.
We're all here to help each other. So let's just facilitate that with other people. And good set, how you doing? You know, how you doing? And after the set, good set, man.
Yeah.
Good or not. Crickets or not.
Doesn't matter.
Good set. You went up on stage.
You did it.
You did it.
I like busting balls a little bit though.
Yeah, it's because you're an asshole.
Well, I think there's room for both. Can't we be supportive and assholes?
Well, but I figured, like, I felt bad a couple times when I'm like, well, you know what? They got to learn to take it.
Yeah.
You can't. Everybody's not gonna. You know, you can't.
Oh yeah, come on.
You still did good, but I'm still gonna.
Gotta razz you a little bit.
I mean, I expect that would happen to me also.
Yeah, you got to watch who you razz, the open micers. Some of them look a little bit unstable.
Well, we were talking about. I just had lunch with my sister who was up from Delaware, and we were talking about hecklers, right? And do you remember? I don't know if either of you were there, but it was the night that one dude came at Jeremy. Like,
oh, I was there.
You were there, right? So the room was like packed. There was a lot of people in the room, right? It was a great night. The energy was awesome. Like, it was like, oh my God, right? I remember sitting next to another comic, and I'm like, oh man, one more comic and I get to go up. I can't wait to perform in front of this like frothing crowd.
He calls himself the Jersey Jerk Off.
That guy?
That's what he signed up as.
That was that
off.
night.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really?
The Jersey Jerk Off.
Well,
but anyway, go ahead.
Aptly named, because guess what? That guy was a jerk off. So he gets on stage, and he was really, really intoxicated on alcohol and things, and for sure. And then he proceeds like, this is my first time doing this, and I just got out of jail. And that's how he started his set. And he proceeded to bomb. It's incoherent. You couldn't understand what he was talking about, like all that, right? And it felt like, in space, if you open the window, everything gets sucked out. That's what happened to all the energy and goodwill that had been built up until that point.
Yeah, he got a little angry.
Yeah. And then I got on stage after him, and because, again, call it inexperience or just the need to, I had to point out, like, that's going to be hard to follow. Like, and then he started in on me and started heckling me. And it was just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Like it's and like it wasn't like he was saying boo, you suck or anything. He just wanted to be now, like, because I've not necessarily reached out an olive branch. I'm just pointing out an obvious thing that this dude just came and just torpedoed the room.
Yeah.
And not so many words, but he just wanted to be now part. Now we were having a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Part of the show.
It's like, I don't want you to be part of the
minutes.
Right. I don't need that. Another time I was at Tuned Up, and this, again, I don't know why it always happens to me in packed rooms, but apparently I'm attracting these hecklers. And there was, Tuned Up's a very small room if you've never been there before. Not huge, doesn't fit a lot of people, but these people were packed in like sardines. And right in the front of the stage, there's usually a little bit of space that you can kind of like walk around, whatever. But there was a table there, and there was 4 people at that table. So I do 5 minutes you need to, and a room that, like, when it's like that, it's not just comedians, it's a bunch of comedy fans. So you're like, okay, I gotta pull out all the good stuff, right? And I gotta hit them right in the face with a funny joke right off the bat. So I tell a joke, it kills, and then it gets silent for a second, and then you just hear, oh my God, you're funny. Like, and it was like echoing. I'm like, oh, fuck. That time I didn't like point her out. What I did was I kind of like weaved in and out, like because she would like she wasn't done talking yet.
Yeah,
you know she was
they
gonna.
never
I
are.
don't know who Bill Cosby is. I'm like, all right, well other people do, and I'm glad that I'm sure he would be happy to know that you didn't know what he was up to. go hang out with him, see what happens.
Yeah, drunk white girl. Sounds like right.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude, nail it.
Great,
Yeah,
great impression.
She was wearing a half tee and she was slouched into her chair because she was in a drunken stupor.
Blonde,
Yeah.
blonde, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You nailed it, dude. Were you there? Yeah.
It was me. It was me in drag.
Wow. Wow. I don't know. You're like a fucking Evil Dead level makeup artist.
You were funny.
Oh my god, you're so funny. When I heard that the timbre in her voice, the river of sludge coming, I was like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, that's the best.
I don't think I've had any hecklers.
Nah.
I don't want to. Maybe I just didn't hear them.
Yeah, I haven't had any, but I don't know if I was hosting or just doing a set. But there was a dude from Philly up there, and he's a character, and he's known. And he didn't do anything bad. He was just laughing, which is a good thing. But it's a long, loud, obnoxious cackle.
Oh, he's got bad laugh.
Terrible laugh.
Oh no.
And him and his wife actually perform. They like rap, and he raps. He's
Really?
like in his 60s, and he like rapped, and it wasn't terrible.
Oh
Wow.
yeah,
I gotta
I
be
remember
honest.
that. And he
It was not terrible. And I just, I said something quick because of his laugh, but I was like, man, like,
Yeah, I remember that guy because he laughed at one of my jokes. I had it on video on YouTube, and I heard him But yeah, that's fine. You know what? As I was saying, I don't have any hecklers, but I'd rather have somebody like boo me than just sit and like
To look at you like
stare
confused.
at me or nothing.
React, please.
Yeah, throw something.
yeah.
Well, maybe not
Tomato.
throw anything. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's encourage them to bring.
Right,
produce in.
yeah, that's not like there are we have inside jokes though. We've been there like Evan.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
God.
always, like,
He's
that's
just.
become like an inside thing where like we just heckled him.
I do want. I make fun of him every single time he's there.
But he's
Even
not
sometimes.
there.
But sometimes he's not there. But like, what I mean, like there, as in like he got up there. He always gets up early, and then he leaves before I can like really give it to him to his face. And I'm not doing it to be mean. I really am not.
Right.
I just he just is so make funnable, if that's a thing. It's such an easy target. Maybe because he's so fat. I don't know. He's I'm doing it now.
You got a lot of these are inside jokes. You got to show up to Soul Joe's Tuesday nights, 6:30 sign up, 7:00 show free.
You'll know Evan's there because it'll be a wrinkled blue shirt. It's a manatee in a wrinkled blue shirt. Then you'll know it's him.
And like old man shoes.
And old man shoes.
Come catch the love, folks.
Yeah, no. He's actually. I feel like he's trying to find it. Like when he did the thing on the old people. Boy, did that get! And he did not read the room well because there was nobody under like 40 there.
Or did he read the room perfectly?
Possibly, maybe if he would have.
Could be a provocateur.
Oh, one of those.
Well, I think he likes being the villain.
I like that word.
I like that word too.
I've been looking for a reason to say that.
I'm so glad you did right then. Yeah. That was good.
He's enjoying being the villain.
Oh, no, and that's okay. Like, hey, that's why they have heels in wrestling, right? So you need to be able to boo. You got to boo the bad guy. That's what you should be doing. You should hate that person. But I do wonder the sustainability of it in a comedy environment, only because they can hate you if they're not going to laugh at you. Because there are things that I think provocateur is a really, not just because it's a great word. It is because it's exactly what he's doing, because there were people in the audience that were older that were like fighting mad. Like I was watching them. They were like, that motherfucker's like, he wants us all dead. I'll show you. Right?
Yeah. Hold on. Let's catch up in case anybody's watching and paying attention.
Yes.
There's a younger comic, 20s, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's in 20s, yeah.
Named Evan.
Yes.
Goes up early on the open mic night.
Yep.
And be honest, most of the other comics are late 30s.
Yeah.
And older, right?
There's a couple of younger people.
There are 20s, our 20s and early 30s, but for the most part, it's a lot of people closer to 40.
Yeah.
Right.
So this dude more than likely thinking he's funny. I don't think there's any malice in any of this.
Absolutely
It's
not.
all just everybody being funny.
Right.
He goes up and he starts to bust balls. I think somebody may have sat on a stool one week.
Yeah.
And he made fun of them, saying they're old and they can't stand up or something.
Then he flipped his stool over and put it in the corner or something.
Yeah,
like
something like that.
Goofy.
Old people. And then Evan is a big boy. So people were making fun of that.
Yep.
And it's just, at first, I thought it was like bullying, ganging up on Evan. And I didn't like it at first.
Right.
But then I kind of got caught up to the story, and I was like, oh, he's
the
fired
one
the
that-
shots first.
Yeah, he was the one that did. He
Yeah.
started. He essentially. I hate saying that. Sounds childish.
Yeah.
He started it.
He started it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so and I don't think I think that if he was genuinely upset about it, we would have heard about it. I think that he actually likes the fact, because if you think about it, it's actually a fairly, I'm not calling him brilliant. Definitely not. But see, easy. But I think what he's doing, even if somewhat unintentional, is brilliant, because what he's doing is getting people talking about him.
Yeah.
And this, you can basically
right
constant promotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a whole segment on this thing.
Yeah, and he comes in, he says his funny shit.
Yep.
When he's there and people are giving back to him, he kind of goes back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
But most of the time he leaves, and I just imagine him laughing on the way home.
He's like, oh man, I just literally lit a fuse
great.
and left.
It's great.
Yeah, now they're gonna an Evan bomb's gonna go off for the next.
Yeah. We'll have to shout him out or hashtag him. Shout
Yes.
out Evan.
I did look for
Evan
him
McNabb.
to friend him or something on Facebook, just again to say, hey man, like it's nothing personal. I'm just busting stones, but I can't find him.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe he's keeping it on the down low. Some people do that for a while before
It's all love, all comedy, camaraderie.
100%.
Yeah, I try to.
We're all about it.
I try to friend everybody. I think I just found Andrew G.
Yeah.
Friend him. I think I did. Don't remember. But yeah, I try to get the community. You know.
Yeah, support.
You know. Like,
But let's get into your podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Digging in the Dome.
Yes, sir.
YouTube and Roku now.
Now on Roku. Yeah.
Yeah, tell everybody where they can find it, first of
Yeah,
all.
so it's on the Pod Nation TV network on Roku. We got picked up by them a couple of months ago. They actually came to us and said, "Hey, we were interested in having your podcast on Roku," which is
Nice.
awesome. We again, similar to comedy. I think it's a lot about the work that you put into it, and we started the podcast in March of 2020.
Okay.
And, we've built it from the ground up, like two people that no one knew. And we have fans around the world. We've got like 15 or 16,000 YouTube subscribers now. And we're on Roku, and,
That's awesome.
we're coming up on 1 million views on YouTube. So
Shit.
it's pretty crazy. But again, it's a lot of that had to do with, trying to book guests and just asking. So I think the first comedian I had on was maybe Sarah Tolomash.
Okay.
And
congratulations. She's having a baby this week, I
yes,
think.
she is. Yes, she is. That's right. Yeah, Joe List was just talking about that.
Okay, yeah.
So she came on, and then I said, hey, anybody else that you know that? And then you just start kind of weaving in and trying to find these connections with people. I happen to know this dude at work, and he's like, yeah, I used to do a podcast, and I used to work with a lot of the Impractical Joker guys. I was like, awesome. I'm like, could you maybe connect me with them? So as a result of that, we got Casey Jost on the podcast. We had Chris Sorrentino, John Zaluga. I always say Jiggy the comedian. So these are all people that were in the TV show and in the movie. So it was, again, awesome. I get to ask Casey Jost on our podcast. I was like, what's it like, saying, hey, Black Widow, can you pass the mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving? That's got to be fucking rad.
Right.
Because Colin Jost is married to Scarlett Johansson, of course.
Right.
So, but no, it's again, it built up from really just two people that were bored during the pandemic. I had been doing other podcasts for work, but they were more business oriented. I put a little flavor in there, but it wasn't it was very much a corporate podcast.
Right. And
I did radio in college and stuff like that, so I've always loved that shit.
Sweet.
So then, I did my first episode by myself. Didn't feel right. I like being able to bounce off other people. Sorry. So I invited my best friend and one of my old bandmates. I said, come on. He was right down the street. He came in, we started talking, and he never left. That was it. He was on from there on out. I'm like, this is stupid. Just do it all the time.
Right.
Right.
So it's funny because the things that we do on the podcast have gotten us into a lot of trouble with our family. Because we are disclosing things that we have this thing called the topic randomizer, right? It basically is, and we haven't done it in a while. We have to actually bring it back. But you spin this wheel and it lands on something, and it's always something pretty terrible that you have to talk about, like your worst, sexual experience, or something that you hope your parents would never find out, something like that. Like there's always kinds of weird shit on there.
Right.
And so like
I can see you getting in trouble for some of that.
Oh, like my mom didn't talk to, after one thing that I had disclosed, didn't talk to me for like a month and a half. And I'm not kidding.
Shit.
I had to like really mea culpa it. But the funny thing is that the apology was the hilarious parts. We did it on the podcast, and we had the sad walking away music from the Incredible Hulk going in the background. So it was similar to like what we were talking about before, how you said, I'm not going to steal your bit, and then you basically do it. So the apology was not an apology at all. It was a commitment to continue to disclose things that they didn't know for the foreseeable future as our podcast continues to grow. So she also didn't like that and was mad at me for that. Yeah, I always get this every once when I talk to her. I listened to the podcast the other day. I'm like, oh, what do we talk about?
Right.
She's like, drugs. I'm like, well,
we got lucky.
do them.
Well, we're the Crumb Show. That's what we talk about all the time. Is your crummiest this or your crummiest that. So that's I'm used to getting yelled at about stuff.
But we got lucky. Neither one of our wives want to listen to the podcast. No. So
my wife doesn't listen to my podcast.
Refuse. Yeah. She's never even been to see my comedy. Not even one time. Refuses.
Really? Why?
She isn't. She doesn't know because she never heard it. But she's 100% that it's super. What would we call that?
Dirty.
And she doesn't want to hear any of that.
Oh,
she did. I did a 7 for 7 up there.
Hated it.
Joel's. She did. She did come and. Not a fan.
Not a fan of it?
My wife either. Not a fan.
Really? Is it just... and it's interesting. So my wife has come to see me perform, and she did like it. She thought it was good. But she didn't like... I don't know that she would say, I hated that. Well, actually, she would. She would. But I don't... I respect it, too. If like, hey, you don't want to... This is my thing. It's not like if you were playing golf, you'd be like, hey, honey, come watch me play golf.
Yeah.
Who cares?
But she has listened to the podcast. That's why I know she's not...
Yeah, because she yelled at you about something you said.
Yeah, because I said the dirtier the better one time. And she's like, now she's fixated
on that thing?
I'm like, I do clean stuff, too. I do clean stuff. But she doesn't care.
She doesn't care about that. She just focuses on the dirty.
That's right. So,
and you said the dirtier the better, which is that's a wide open statement for interpretation.
Right.
That can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, I've lived my life like that.
But what do you? So your general, like, I know you talked a little bit about your podcast, but like you do that Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. Oh, my favorite.
Yeah,
the most wonderful time in the year.
We missed out this year, but next year
come in next year. So basically, what we do is we take a period of time, usually it's 5 years, and say in this 5-year period, and I'll back up. The reason that Cinco de Mayo exists is because this was, again, during the pandemic, and we started at the end of March, so I was really bummed out. I love March Madness. It's so much fun. You're a basketball fan. I know you are. I'm sure that you love March Madness, right? No, you don't? Yeah,
I'm more of an NBA guy.
Okay.
But then the college, but I do play. I am interested to see who wins.
Right.
But I ain't gonna sit and watch college basketball.
Chris is a cool shirt fan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So those basketball jerseys are all they're all high school jerseys of NBA people.
Okay, I've never said. Yeah,
but I could see why he could assume I'm a
literally, I feel like it's been every week for as long as I can remember. I've seen you. You've been wearing a jersey of something. Yeah. So like that's a pretty standard operating procedure for you, right?
You continue to tell me how childish. And I look at him like, yeah, I guess he's right.
But it's just a joke. Love you, man. So March Madness tournament, right? You have these 4 regions, right? And the regions are based on the best people in those particular, areas, like regions, really. So we didn't get that because the pandemic shut down everything. So I decided that it would be a good idea to create a similar type bracket situation where you've got 4 regions. And this period of time that we're choosing, you have to pick the worst music, TV, fads, and music, TV, fads, and what the hell am I missing? Music, TV,
movies.
Yeah, of course, movies. What the fuck is wrong with me? I'm tired, guys. So it's those four, right? So we draft them, Kevin, and this actually next year is going to be different. But every year up to this point, 4 years that we've been doing it, we draft the worst, right? And then it's a kind of because we do a draft every episode anyway. So this is just kind of an expansion of the draft and saying we're going to get this whole field, and then we send out brackets to all of our fans and say, you guys fill them out. If you win, you get a prize. Okay. Right. So, it's money. And we have a sponsor for it. It's called Slack Tide Brewing. Ride the tide. Shout out. But they basically, people compete. They vote, for who they think is the worst. And then you get down to, there can be only one. And this year, 2015, it was the finals it was 2010 to 2015 or 2010 or 11 to 2015. Jesus Christ, I can't talk. And it was in the finals, movies versus, because basically eventually what you do is your bracket's going to get to the point where there's only one person left in the bracket. Mm-hmm. That's when it gets really interesting because now the music champion has to face the TV champion. You have to decide between those two what's worse, and the fads has to go against movies. So this year it was Honey Boo Boo, the TV show, versus Movie 43, a really, really bad movie.
That was specifically meant to be a bad movie?
Yes. Yeah. That was a train wreck. And with every star you can possibly think of, which made it worse. There was a part where Hugh Jackman had
with the
balls hanging from his fucking chin.
That's the one part everybody remembers about that movie.
That's the only part I remember the whole movie.
Well, it's because you're seeing Wolverine with fucking balls hanging off of his face. It's weird. And Honey Boo Boo, I'm proud to say, has won the championship. They are the champion, and we had somebody win the prize, and they got a whole bunch of stuff, and nice. So it's cool. It's it's something to get the fans engaged. It keeps them kind of thinking about it. People get excited to play Cinco de Mayo now.
Right. Digging in the dome. Go check it out.
Cinco de Mayo is always a good time. But we do draft stuff. We do headlines. We'll talk about the headlines. And kind of basically take a headline that's a kind of clickbait headline and we'll make the story up about what it is. And it's always not what it's about, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's always one of those things that's kind of, you can take multiple ways, and then we do scenarios and we break down videos. So we do all kinds of really tried and true things that other podcasts do. We just kind of mush it all together and, it's a good time. And of course we just bullshit. And
when do you do this every year? Specific
time?
Oh,
it starts on May 1st. So basically we do the preliminary, the drafting of said contestants in April. And then May is when it starts. It always goes to it just ended a week ago because it's so long. It takes forever.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, because you're going through all these different people. So it's got to get narrowed down and you need to give people enough time to vote.
We'll get in on it next time.
Yeah, definitely. It's good fun. We're going to do some different things with it. I think we're going to actually have some fan sourcing for drafting and stuff like that, so that it's not just going to be the two of us. I'm tired of beating Kevin every year. Beat him 4 years in a row.
Nice.
Who I drafted always wins. That's the rule.
You drafted Honey Boo Boo this last time.
Oh, I sure did. And you know what the funny thing is, when we were talking about TV and I first did it, he's like, you know what? I stayed away from reality TV show. I'm like, you were cutting off a huge swath of what is terrible in any decade, any 5-year span. No reality TV. You know how much bad reality TV there is out there?
Everyone is a candidate.
Hate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have had a bracket just full of those. I didn't, but because it's also a bit of strategy, right? So when you're doing it, you have to think okay, at some point my number 4 seed's going to go against his number 2 seed or something like that. You have to think about a little bit ahead around that so that, you get the most favorable matchups. So every year I plan, and every year I win. Nice. I'm like Goldberg.
I'm thinking Honey Boo Boo's mom is going to come in there one year.
Oh, Miss June?
Did she have a show?
I don't.
From hot to not.
Oh, yeah.
From not to hot.
Yeah, when she got all skinny.
Yeah, from meth. She got all methed up.
Listen. Most effective diet ever. Fuck Ozempic. Methamphetamines. And I'll do it every time.
When I worked at Burger King, 14, 15 years old, and you're working with guys that are in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Naive young boy. I'm not thinking about their trials and tribulations. So I'm working with this one dude, and he was eating a Whopper. He was like, man, I haven't had a Whopper in a long time. I just lost, I think he said 250 pounds or 200 pounds or something like that.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. I said, well, how did you do that, man? Mm-hmm. Chewing a Whopper. He just looked at me and said, crack. I went back to eat. I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Well, now that you've lost the weight, how are you going to get off the crack?
Yeah, right.
Maybe the Whopper will get him back.
Whoppers.
That's going to be a weird seesawing of being on crack and skinny and being fat and not on crack.
It's weird though, because I did know some people who were like big coke heads who were fat.
Yeah,
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And they never lost the weight.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
They lost the weight after they got off the coke.
Yeah, they weren't doing enough coke.
Yeah, or really
real,
bad.
Or real coke.
Yeah, exactly. We all know the real Coke is the best kind of Coke, guys.
Yeah, the Mexican coke.
Exactly.
That's what you want.
Right. Exactly.
What you want.
Real sugar.
So yeah, but real quick back on the communion thing, like we were talking earlier, and you said you came up to people and they were asking you questions.
Yes.
The worst thing is like I try to promote. I tell everybody I do it,
100%.
But the problem is like, oh, tell me a joke. And
Oh God,
I'm like,
no.
No, I'm not doing that.
That's I've gotten that a couple times. Tell me a joke. I'm like, no. I'm like, now like the dudes that were before me at the comedy cabaret probably could have rattled off like 50 of them like a Gatling gun.
Yeah.
I don't have those.
Put me on the spot.
Yeah,
It's never going to be as funny as if you're in the moment.
An audience
I've
of
tried.
one.
It never goes over well.
No.
Yeah. We got to have that Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you.
Instant crowd work
Exactly.
shit ready.
You got to be able to, yeah. And if you could pull it off, great. I would rather not even step into it. If you want to see me do comedy, come watch me do it.
Right.
You know, listen to my podcast. That's me being as funny as I think that I can be. And it's not like, hey, audience of one, I'm going to try to make you laugh.
So don't ask comedians to tell you a joke. Like I don't have to fucking prove anything to you.
Yeah. I'm not doing it for you.
Especially Chris. Don't ask him to tell you a joke. You want to be disappointed.
Oh, well, I'm sure that you could probably peel one off if you probably think of one, you know?
Right. But I won't.
No, he refuses.
I refuse.
I refuse. I'm not doing it. You're not looping me into this.
Because like most of the people at my job, they're haters anyway. They're like, I work with the two guys that like in the Muppet Show that sat up.
Oh, the two old. Oh,
yeah, Statler and Waldorf or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Waldorf. And they already heard so like I'm banned from talking about the Crumb Show or my comedy at lunchtime or break.
You're not allowed to do it.
We don't want to hear about how you killed it again, because I always say that.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I killed it every time.
I crushed.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
And they're like, yeah.
Leveled the room, guys.
Let me guess. You killed it. I'm like,
Yeah. Hey, you said it. I didn't.
hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fine line. Like you want, you want to continually promote, and I think you have to. Like, if you're not doing that, you're not doing. I think part of not only what I believe is part of your responsibility, not just to yourself, but to everybody. Because if like I promote Soul Joel's and Tuned Up every single week, I'll do it. Even if I'm not doing it, I'll promote it.
Yeah.
Because I want people to come out there, and the only way they're going to do is say, "Hey, we'd love to have you out here. We want to make you laugh. Come on out." Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, that's good. I seen you putting it out there. I appreciate that on the
Hell yeah.
on the gram.
Yeah, man.
You got to.
Yeah.
So wait, I do have a question for you, because I'm intrigued that you only allow yourself to have one social media, and that is Instagram.
Yeah, and I actually just got that because when I got the 7 and 7 show,
Right.
Steve Rinaldi, the guy who runs the 7 for 7, said, "Send me your socials and I'll do whatever."
And you're like,
I said, exactly. I was like, I don't have any of that. He was like, a comic with no social media? And he like, it was like some TV shit. He was like, all right. He just like shook his head and laughed. So I was like, you're an asshole. You have to get something. So I was like, it seems like Instagram is like the business end of social media for comedy.
yes.
So I was like, just get that.
He's on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, Steve's killing it, man. He has a lot of hilarious videos.
I know. I see him.
Going
yeah.
around eating food too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
So
see.
jealous. He gets to go to like different cheesesteak spots.
Oh no, I know. I see all that stuff. It's
Up to
great.
South Philly, yeah.
And that's people want to see that. You know, it's funny. Like one of the struggles, and I have a lot of social media that I have to manage for both the podcast and myself, and it's really hard, and it's time consuming, and it's thankless, right? And it's hard to. It really is. Like you want to. Engagement is maybe the most important thing that you can gain as either a podcast or a comedian, either.
Yeah.
And because that's going to spread, right? Like that is the grassroots way of you growing yourself,
Right.
and your brand and your podcast or whatever. And that's the thing that is, again, the most difficult. If I could hire one person to do one thing, it would be manage all that shit. I don't want to do it.
That's what I did. I hired Chris to be on the Crumb Show.
Pace. I went to raid.
Yeah, hey, you get what you pay for.
It is tough though.
It is because I gotta, we gotta like
Remember
to put, and then like also not only that, like we gotta like start coming up with more like memes and stuff. Like we had all these memes, but I don't like recycling memes. I'll recycle them here and there, but like I like
fresh memes
because people seem to enjoy our memes, but we stopped that. We need to start getting back on that. But I take blame in that myself because I don't come up with anything either.
I think it's interesting that like we went from, if you remember, Vines, right? It was like 7-second, like snap. Or you got TikToks, right? Originally they were like 10, 15, 30 seconds, maybe tops. It seems like we've kind of like swung back the other way. There was a period of time where that 7-second, that little bite of something was enough. And now it's starting to kind of move the other direction. You start to see Twitter saying you can put up long form videos.
Yeah.
You start to say like Instagram saying your reels can be like 5 minutes or something like that. So it's interesting and somewhat encouraging because I think that I think there's an art to doing fast comedy, but it's also like subjective and sometimes difficult to figure out. Like sometimes it's easy to figure out what they're going with, right? And sometimes those things, especially on TikTok, one thing that drives me nuts, my daughter will laugh hysterically at this every single time she sees it, and I don't get it. It's just a piece of bread falling over.
Oh, shit.
Hilarious, right?
Yeah, super hilarious.
Fucking Carlin level funny. Like I was like, what is this? Why are you laughing? Why is this? She said, I don't know why it's funny. It just is. Some kind of subliminal thing with bread and falling down. I don't know. But I'm glad that you're now starting to see some of those. It's becoming more popular and easier to be able to say, I'm going to put in things in 3 or 4 5-minute increments, and you'll get the joke, you'll get the setup, you get the punch.
What I heard a comic say, and I don't remember which one it was, but they said that they're slaves to the algorithm and all the social
100%.
media stuff, right?
Yep, same.
And what kind of controls that algorithm is what captivates like teenagers.
Yep.
And then it's like TikTok. Like when I first heard of TikTok, it was asking my niece, like, what the hell are you dancing, looking at your phone for? I'm making a TikTok. And then fast forward a couple of years, people my age are like, follow me on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's my niece's dancing app. Like, why are you on that?
I don't have a TikTok. I can't bring myself to have a TikTok.
I
should have a TikTok.
I do.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is there are things that really get you some views, but they're, again, comparative to some of these other, like someone doing, hey, I'm going to make a Nutella bomb, like bread thing. It gets millions of views.
Right.
People would like watch it over and over. Oh my God, I want to eat that. Like, so it really does depend. And again, small comedy things or podcast things really can catch fire. Just depends on what you're talking about. So you try to keep the top stuff on there topical, but and again, it's hard to manage. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, for like 30 seconds threads. I don't bother with that one anymore.
Right.
But like the Discord.
Yeah, there's
like there's so many like Mastodon. Like
I was on Mastodon. I was on Stitcher, not Stitcher.
Twitch, maybe.
Twitch is a thing.
There was another one though. There was another one that were like, we're no longer in business. Like, they just went
Grindr?
away. No, but like I was trying to jump on all these like obscure things and like to promote, and some of them were like, if you're just here to promote your shit, don't
bother.
They're like, you got to start talking to us and then throw your stuff out there. Well, I'm like, wow.
Then I'm not doing it.
I'm like, I don't have time to talk to you guys.
Right.
But I just watched the show and whatever. But so I just tried to go on everything and anything I could to like promote the show. Random things. But like the best thing is I got, I'm sure you know, like I have Facebook hooked to Instagram, so anytime I post on Facebook,
it goes there too.
It goes there, so I don't got to worry about that. X now, Twitter, whatever the hell that. I have to start getting back on that ever since it turned to X. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, I try to post on there. Like, I always tell myself, it's like one of those things, you know how like when you have January 1st comes around, you say, these are the things I'm going to change about myself. I always say like one of my, resolutions is I need to like post every day on all of my social media, and I never do it.
Right. Yeah.
I just can't. I don't have the time. I've got too many other things that I have to do. And at some point, you have to like take a break for yourself. Like you guys do it too. Work a full-time job, and you're doing this kind of stuff. It takes up a lot of energy and time. So
this isn't. You're not rich off of this yet.
Not yet, no. No, I mean, like to get, and especially now, like I always start things too late. It's like, I got into the podcast game after they said no more money for people that do podcasts.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was the good timing.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, so it's a bummer, right? It's like, but, you know.
Oh, is that real?
What's that?
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Well, they basically severely reduce the amount of money that you can make on those platforms unless you're getting millions of views. So, and getting millions of views is very, very difficult, obviously, right? It's there, especially in YouTube, you mentioned the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm. So they're going to have like for like, you know, so that's, you have to really choose your hashtags very, very carefully and your thumbnail very, very carefully. There are people that have podcasts that spend $10,000, $20,000 just to get thumbnail designs for their episodes.
Yeah, I've noticed they're a lot different recently.
Yep.
They're a lot more detailed, the thumbnails, than ours are just us sitting there.
Right, because it's like what's
AI
happening in this.
generated.
Yeah, they're doing just different things and saying, you know, what, but they're spending the money like with firms to do it, you know, especially some of these huge podcasts because they have to.
Yeah.
Got to stay ahead of the algo, and I got to figure out how I'm going to get the most eyes on this thing. Don't start going backwards.
I'm a little short on the 10 grand though to be making
thumbnails.
Yeah.
I think that there's good guides out there anyway. Like there's, I've got something I could send you that might help. Like there was something that I found. And I was like, okay. And it, you know, you definitely tell a difference when you actually take the time to really curate the right picture for your podcast, because that's the first thing they're going to see if they're scrolling through, and that's what they're doing, doom scrolling through all these videos. What's going to catch my eye? Yeah. You know, so it's got to be something they want to see. So like, especially, I always it's a cheap fucking move, but I did it anyway. Like, do you guys know who Colleen Ballinger is?
No.
Okay, so she is I guess one of the Disney stars that like moved into like touring around and doing concerts for people in that demo, you know, like the kids that liked her shit. And she was accused of basically doing inappropriate things with kids. Yeah, not great. I never want that. And there was like a lot of evidence to support that maybe she was doing some things with kids like that were not appropriate. And so her move to combat this was to do a ukulele song about how this is all toxic gossip, and it went on for, and I encourage you, if you want to torture yourself, it's 10-minute long video of her doing ukulele apologies, and it's fucking terrible. So we had an episode where I talked about it for like 30 seconds. You better believe my thumbnail was Colleen Ballinger because everybody was talking about her.
Okay, right.
And it popped the algorithm. People view that more than other stuff that we have put up.
Well, let's talk about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift real quick.
There you go.
Yeah. They call her Swells. They call him Swelsey.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of Jason Kelce and DeAndre Swift standing back to back? It says Kelce Swift.
Well, did you see the one that
good.
says Kelce's cocks hurts
Swift? Yeah. Kelce's cock hurts Swift. Very, very clever.
It is clever. They had all people standing with their jerseys.
Yes.
Okay.
Someone had a eureka moment. Wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
Man, it's hilarious.
Imagine the excitement to realizing you could actually set that up for a picture. Like,
yeah. We've done it.
Yeah, like that's...
Yeah, because the Swift, whatever, the first one you said.
What, DeAndre?
Yeah, the Swift and Kelce or whatever. I don't know. There was one with two of them.
It's just them, yeah.
Yeah, and then the four of them together, it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's excellent.
It is.
Yeah.
So now we can.
Now you can say. Now you can pop.
Hashtag that.
Yeah, and throw them in the
Like
in the thumbnail, and then
like
next thing you know.
Business lunch. Like let's talk. On the lunch. Oh, how's business? How good? We can write this down.
Exactly.
We got our
Write
hot
it
topic.
all,
Right, we did it, guys. We did it.
Speaking of, we're
Yeah, well,
Eagle
almost
Games coming
birds
up.
time.
Right on.
Ballz, thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you for having me. Much, much, much appreciated. Thank you. Come and see me at Tuned Up Brewery on the 28th. I'm hosting the show. Some great comedians on there. Saturday the 28th, come see me there. And obviously come see me every Tuesday at Soul Joel's. I don't miss that unless, my leg's broken or my kid's sick.
Yeah. How about your podcast or socials?
Oh, that thing. Digging in the Dome. So you can go to digginginthedome.com. We have a website there. Our socials are Digging in the Dome, except for on Stupid X. is Just Digging Dome. So go check that out. And we're on Roku. If you have Roku every Thursday and Friday at 7 p.m. to 8:30. We put a lot of our classic episodes on there, like things that we've done in the past, and then also some new stuff. So go check that out.
Right.
Awesome.
All right, folks.
Hold on, speaking of, if somebody's still watching there, on Halloween, we're doing a costume party. It's actually open mic lands on Halloween this year.
Yes, it's right. That's 2
Yeah.
days.
So I'll remind everybody on the socials and everything, and Jeremy already started. But yeah, there's going to be prizes for the best costume, and Jeremy's hosting that night.
Yeah,
So,
I'll put the picture like right here somewhere.
Right up
yeah,
here.
it's going to be a good time. So come out every Tuesday, but especially if you're not doing anything for Halloween,
Come on down.
come on down. It's a good time.
Yeah, don't feed those kids chocolate. You just leave a bowl out. They'll take care of themselves.
There's a costume contest. Did you mention that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get prizes.
Yeah. So one other one, just again, I'm very neglectful of my plugging myself.
Yeah, man.
Cristobal Morano is CRISTOBALMEAUXRANO. I know it's a mouthful. I tried to put Ballz the comic on Facebook and Instagram, and they said no, that's not your real name. I'm like, it isn't. You're right. I guess it's not.
That's why we're Crumb Show Pod, because if you try to put the Crumb Show podcast, Facebook's like, no, now you got to pay or something.
They were going to make you pay.
Not pay, but they don't like that.
They don't like it.
They're like, you're obviously a business, so.
Hey, whatever, dude.
Do you hashtag Ballz the comic or anything
All
like that?
the time, yeah. If you do any hashtags or are searching any, then you see Ballz the comic. That's me.
All right.
BALLZ the comic.
All right. Well, thanks again, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Birds.